best of West Sri Lanka.
So I work with our holding company. I don't work at Brandix anymore. For the last 2 years I've been at Phoenix Ventures only, which is the holding company of Brandix. I help operate our fund, and even though I'm a operations or a process guy, as per I studied engineering at University of Warwick, my specialty was process engineering. Even though that was my area of expertise, I moved to the fund management side of it. How we came into Right to Read was quite interesting. It all started with this very far-fetched dream. You know, we said, what if we could do this? There was this group, our former chairman's, somebody who used to work with our chairman in American Express in Boston. He left American Express and went to India. This is an Indian gentleman, and he developed this app that we eventually got over. Not bought over, but we eventually got it from him as a gift. So he developed this app, and he started this project in India, and then he mentioned to our chairman, who mentioned it to us, and the whole story was, why not Sri Lanka? Our chairman kept asking, why not Sri Lanka? And they said, yeah, if you can do this in India, and if you can do like 5,000-10,000 schools in India, the whole Sri Lanka only has 10,000 schools. So the whole idea was we'd make Sri Lanka the poster child. And it started with this crazy far-fetched dream where we said everyone who graduates out of school in Sri Lanka, what if all of them spoke perfect and fluent English? How incredible would that be? How would that change the country? How would that take Sri Lanka into the global arena? So it started with this crazy far-fetched dream, but now we've been working on this since the last year, October or something. Now it's just become very close to reality, and this dream seems like we might actually achieve it. We managed to take Right to Read to just about 100,000 students now, and we've done this without partnership with too many other people. All of a sudden, we realized that we can do this. If we can do all this on our own, if we partner with so many other people, if we can partner with everyone else in Sri Lanka. Right now it's just the Ministry of Education, little bit support from Brandix, or little bit support from us. We're making it work. But if we can get all private sector firms and all individuals coming together, make this project for Sri Lanka, by Sri Lanka, we are secretly very hopeful, and we think we can actually achieve it. So dreams becoming a reality now. So the Sri Lankan education system, to be honest with you, has come a long way, especially since what we have seen going around. English, it's still got a long way more to go. There's a lot of room for improvement. I see whenever we work with the Ministry of Education, I see they're constantly working on various projects. There's so much work going on, going on a daily basis. But like I said, there's a very, very long way to go. The main issue I see with the education system is that we have been slow in bringing technology into the system, and we have not progressed much since the time, say perhaps since I went to school, or say even the time my parents went to school, to the time when my children will go to school, or say today. It hasn't evolved much. We are still using a blackboard, we are still using a chalk, we are still using the same teaching method. We have gone from a black and white paper to a colored book, but that's about it. In terms of the textbook, a little bit of involvement, a little bit of improvement, but the actual teaching principles, the teaching, the methodology hasn't really evolved, and we've been very slow to use technology. We keep talking about using smart boards, tablets, things like that to enable teaching, but it's very expensive. It takes a lot of work. There's a lot more to do than just the investment to buy a tablet and give it to a child. You can't just buy a smart board and drop it into a classroom. You have to digitize content. You have to teach the teachers, or train the teachers on how to teach using technology, which we have never done. So up to now, what I see is still the same archaic way of teaching, and we do have a lot of infrastructure shortages also. I don't want to say that we have not done a lot. We have tried, but we do have a lot of infrastructure issues. We have a shortage of teachers. We have a shortage of funding for a lot of the buildings. I've seen some very small schools, some very underfunded schools. You know, sometimes you see a school that's an entire school that's about the size of this room, in fact, you know, leaking roofs, half walls. So it's very difficult to take that to world class. At Brandix, I think the idea behind being the inspired solution was, we said that the idea was that we be world class, and we are giving you an inspired solution. In this case, when we talk about it with the ministry, to build that inspired location or the inspired solution in terms of education, we haven't really done much about it yet. But perhaps in the Western Province in Colombo, we can start and then slowly progress it to the suburbs. So, English, we keep talking about how it's the global bridging language. And see, when it comes to information production, anything from a news article to a movie, to anything, any video, anything on the internet, any information produced in the world, 46% of it is in English. And the next highest language is German at 7%. And then it's just the numbers get smaller and smaller. There are only 11 languages with more than 0.1% of information production. The issue is that there are so many languages. In India alone, there are 15,000 languages spoken. It's ridiculous how we speak so many languages, but when it comes to communicating with each other, when it comes to accessing any information, learning anything, it all comes back down to English, because end of the day, most of it is in English. I keep using this example. I wonder whether this is an appropriate time to mention it, but there's an astronaut, a female astronaut. Her name is Peggy Whitson. I'm sure this is Googleable. Peggy Whitson has so many world records, and she was the first female commander of the International Space Station. She has the most number of days spent in space for an American astronaut. And she has done the most number of space walks for an American astronaut. She's only beaten by one Russian astronaut. So I started, when I found out about Peggy Whitson and what an incredible woman she is, how she has achieved what she has achieved, we looked into just where she came from. She comes from a very small town. She comes from a tiny town of Iowa, and the population of this entire town was 21 people. So I double checked the facts. I wanted to check whether it was 21 people or whether it was 21 families living in that town. It's 21 people. Now, if Peggy Whitson can come from a tiny village town in the US, a population of 21 people, why doesn't the Sri Lankan village boy or village girl have that same opportunity? Peggy Whitson was able to Google and learn. At one point, I think she has accredited so many other than YouTube, she has accredited so many other online learning facilities for knowing what she knows. So she had the desire to learn. She went online, and because she knew English, she had access to that information. Sinhalese and Tamil combined doesn't even accumulate to 0.1% of all information in the world. So the unfair advantage is that the Sri Lankan villager doesn't have access to more than 0.1% of all information. So if he wants to go to space, if he wants to see a Sri Lankan in Mars or anything, they simply do not have access to that information. That's why I think English is just absolutely crucial. English will open the doors to all that. It's been credited for so many other things as the bridging language, as a bridging language between communities. There's so much more you can give credit to English for, but for me, information and access to information is key.
Don't forget to subscribe. Education at your fingertip.
LearnTV Education Platform.